Welcome to the Digital Insurance Agent Podcast. So glad you've chosen to join us today. And with me is Brian Greenberg from Quoteplicity. Brian, so glad to have you with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Brian, we had a chance to talk a few weeks ago, and you were telling me a little bit about your journey and how you got started here with Quoteplicity. So, if you'll kind of back up and walk the audience through your journey, and we'll get into how you can really benefit our listeners, and we'll talk through what you're doing today.
Sure. Well, I owned a life insurance agency for about 15 years, and it was a digital agency. So I started back in like 2008, and it was pretty new to selling over the phone and online. And I was doing 1 million plus in annual premium for 10 years in a row, ranking in Google. Now, a couple years ago, I sold the website. Somebody really wanted the website. But they left me with all the software that I built. And I built these incredible funnels and rate comparison quotes and all these tools where customers could actually go and quote and actually apply for life insurance on their own. So I took some time off and went back and I started Quoteplicity, which offers all these software quoting tools and underwriting tools and forms for life insurance agents and agencies.
Excellent. So let's kind of talk through that. So I want to, back up first of all, because you've dropped a few nuggets for us, and I don't want to miss the nuggets. Okay. So one of the things you talked about is you saw the opportunity to leverage technology to build a very lucrative business. And I think that's the first nugget we want to pick up. I think a lot of agents are scared. They don't know what they don't know. And so they don't really know where to start. So the first thing you did was you became a student of what was available to you. So you mentioned a few things that some of our listeners may go, funnels. What's that? Is that what I pour motor oil into my car with? So let's kind of back up. Let's kindergarten this a little bit, and let's kind of step through, when you first move forward, what you did to kind of build this up. So you learned the search engines, started building funnels. So let's talk through what those were, and then let's talk about the technology that you're using now, and how you deployed that in your previous iteration, and then we'll kind of work our way forward here.
All right, let me try there. It's very similar to kind of like casting a net. So you want to cast the net, have customers find you, right? But then there's a second part is you got to reel that net in and get everything out into the boat. So the net is essentially a website, right? So that's the beauty of doing things online. They find you on a website. It doesn't have to be your website. It could be a third-party website like a Yelp or a local business listing, but you bring them into your ecosystem. Now, when you bring them into your ecosystem, you want to sell them. Now, the beautiful thing about online is you don't need to do it face-to-face every time. Like we're doing here, it's video. So you could do it one time and play it over and over again to a customer and do the sales process. Carl, I wrote a book called The Salesman Who Doesn't Sell. And what that means is I would sell somebody so much on my own website, which is what I call a funnel. They would answer all the frequently asked questions, everything that someone would ask, I would answer, and I would build trust, and I would show them all the reviews that I had. So by the time they come to me, they're already sold, especially for life insurance. They'll call me and I'll just take the application, and really the leads are so teed up that I don't need to sell. It's just, I need not to screw it up is the thing. And that's the funnel. So if you can get a funnel where you sell somebody all the way into a sale without doing anything, you can do it while you sleep. That's the funnel.
Very good. So what we're really getting into here, Brian, is we're talking about working smarter, not harder.
Mm,
We're talking about leveraging and being able to multiply your efforts and amplify your messaging.
yeah.
And I love one of the things that you're bringing up is I call it playing with resistance. We're meeting the resistance before we ever get to it,
Yeah.
so that all those questions are answered before that prospect ever gets to the point of making the decision. And so you've done the heavy lifting by the time it's time to make the transaction happen. Am I following you correctly here?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say, in the current marketplace, someone may run ads and get their customer data, or, just collect an email address, whatever it may be. Now, from there, it's a process, and you can do the same thing with automations by sending them emails or text messages, voicemail drops. All these are things that you could use to push people further down into that sales cycle. Answer all the questions, build the trust, sell the product. I sell life insurance, right? So it's one of those products that certain things would happen to a person that makes them, hey, I want to buy right now. All right. It's not required by law like other types of insurance. But someone has a baby, someone buys a house. The biggest signal is they know somebody that passed away. When that happens, they got all my emails, they got all my texts. I've already built up the reputation. I'm their guy. So that's leveraging all the technology that you can. And you're right, it's automated. And if you know how to use that, it's going to make your job a lot easier.
Absolutely. Now let's get back to your story. So you built this up, $1 million in premium every year. So a lot of our listeners go, man, that's my dream.
Yeah.
But you sold that. So that tells us that you found something even more appealing, right?
Look, the appealing thing for me was a nice exit. That's the ultimate victory. It was an agency, True Blue Life Insurance, and it ranked for a long time. And look, running an agency gets tiring, and sometimes you need a change. And I enjoyed it, and I took the time off. But yeah, look, I loved building the software. That was in the funnels. That's the fun of it, right? And to see if we can do it again, and also if I could help others use what I did or pass the knowledge on. That's kind of where I'm at, and I feel like I'm doing a good thing. And life insurance is a cool industry. You're dealing with really, really good people, people that love their families, people that love somebody.
That's good. Well, and the reason I took you down that path is I think sometimes we miss this in our conversations. When we start off, we want the success. I want to achieve. I want the house. I want the car. I want all that. And at some point, we hit the then what wall.
Yeah.
I've got that. Then what? And so you hit that. You made your exit. You found you enjoyed the software side of it. You love helping other people. So now let's get into the software side of it, Quoteplicity. So unpack that for us. Let's talk about Quoteplicity. What is it? What does it do? How does it help the agent? And kind of walk us through um, what the heartbeat of it is, and for our listeners out there, why they would want to take a look at what you've got.
The system essentially, will walk the customer through the sales process mostly without you. It'll get you, to that, the 1 yard line. And that's the dream of any agent. And, these are, if you can get them that way, they're the best leads you could possibly get. So my system starts with, collecting their basic information because everyone wants to run a quote. 90% of people that buy life insurance are going to go on and run a quote. It's just how it is. Now, if you don't offer that yourself, they're going to go to someone else's website and do it. And I know that better than anyone because I was that guy, right? People would go on the site and I would give them something. The thing I would give them is a beautiful free quote with comparisons, and I wouldn't really require any information from them. And a lot of people will just have a form, right? Say name, email, and phone, and then hey, we'll contact you later. This goes much further. This will actually show them all the companies, everything about the company, the features of the company, the different type of costs, even the health qualifications to do it. And again, answering all the questions that someone may have. So, the software is kind of like almost mailbox money is the ultimate, especially if you could link them off to a company that does the fulfillment for you, like an Ethos or an online application. So many companies are coming out with these services. So it's one of the very few software that is consumer facing, that they can do all the research themselves, and it results in a very easy sale. If you're in any type of insurance, it's just a real easy way to increase your income.
That's good. One of the things I love about this, Brian, being a marketer, one of the things we're finding is a trend in marketing is consumers today really prefer to go about 75% of the way
Yeah.
before they talk to somebody.
And then make sure you're legit. Yeah.
That's it. And the more information and research they can do on their own before they have to engage somebody, the stronger that sale actually becomes. And so that's really the strength of your system. And I love the way that it's put together because it leans into what we're seeing in consumer behavior. And, we're even seeing that in the search world today with AI enhanced search. People do their due diligence.
Oh, yeah.
They show up at your doorstep pre-positioned to buy already because they've already done the research. And so that's phenomenal. So let's talk a little bit about just some of the real world, usage and case studies that you've seen as agents have been using Quoteplicity. What kind of lift have some of your agents been seeing in their business, making this switch from what they were previously doing? Do you have some before and after scenarios that you can give us?
Yeah, of course. Look, getting the people, at your front door is the hardest thing. So our system works really good with paid ads. So a lot of our customers are running Facebook ads. For example, I have several people selling final expense insurance. And they're running Facebook ads, sending them to the funnel. Sorry, using the word again, but where it starts running them a quote, collecting information. And they're generating life insurance leads for anywhere from like $4 to $9 each. From there, they're in your system. From there, you let your system work it. A lot of the guys are using, CRM systems. For instance, GoHighLevel is probably the most popular one. And our system actually integrates right into GoHighLevel. And we're in the marketplace. So these guys, they're making a killing, right? So they're hiring more agents and they're putting them on and GoHighLevel, and they're starting and growing their agencies. And even the Facebook leads, historically, maybe they're not the greatest quality, although these guys are being able to sell Facebook leads about 10%. So about every 1 out of 10 leads, they're able to get a sale. That's for the guys that are really good, but anywhere from like 5 to 10%. And that's scalable. So they'll start off spending, I don't know, $500 a month. But then boom, next thing you know, they're spending 10 grand a month and they're hiring more agents. And they got a really nice business.
That's good. Now, in your system, you talked about that lead comes in, you're nurturing, you're following up. Are the nurture sequences built in, or is that something that the agent then puts together themselves?
Yeah, it's such a problem, right? So we provide a snapshot, and it has everything you need to get up and running, especially if you're using GoHighLevel. It loads in all the different workflows. Excuse me. 10 emails, 15 text messages. We tag everything that comes in by the type of insurance. And it's so cool because our automations, it says, hey, you applied for, the best one is Banner, 20-year term, this price per month. So we're able to kind of really personalize everything. Sorry, Carl, what was the question again?
Yeah. So the question was the nurture and follow up, because
Oh.
just what we were talking about. So I come in, I'm new to this whole funnel thing, but I love what you're telling me. But then when you say, okay, that comes in, but follow up, do
Yeah,
I have to do that, or are you doing that?
I'm giving it to you, right?
Good.
So I give you a snapshot. There's a little customization. You got to put your logo in there and a couple links to your review sites, but you're up and running. And the thing that got in my head, Carl, is you could use this on your current database of customers. We're so integrated into GoHighLevel. I love GoHighLevel, that all we need is the contact ID. And you can send someone to a quote, say, hey, this is an old lead. Hey, why don't you run a $100,000 quote? And they won't have to enter in their name, email, phone, or date of birth again, because we actually know it already. We picked it right out of GoHighLevel for them to run a quote super easy, just like one or two extra questions. So we set you up with both of those, all the automations for each one of those. So as soon as you sign up for Quoteplicity and you install this snapshot, you're good to go. You'll have all the fields, all the custom values, all the workflows. You're up and running in a couple of days.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you've got those things going on. Anything else that one of our listeners might want to know about Quoteplicity? That it all sounds good, but what's that one thing that maybe needs to push them over the edge?
We got forms, right? So, let's say you're doing a drop ticket, a Banner drop ticket, or a Mutual of Omaha form. We have the full application, every question, all right? Even the banking, social security, driver's license, everything. Now, it doesn't always integrate directly into the company's application. There's a lot of security issues with that, although I'll get you all the data. So all you need to do is log into that carrier's website, put in the application, and it's emailed out to the customer for a signature. So I'm doing my best to give everyone every little piece of the puzzle where they could let the consumer do everything. Now, again, you'll have to talk to them a little bit and let them know that you're a real person. Although I want to let people know that I'm giving you all the tools. And we're also coming out with underwriting. We provide a lot of underwriting already, but you'll be able to type in a medication and it'll say, what's the condition for and what they'll qualify for. So that's the full circle, and that's coming out soon, Carl.
Excellent. So Brian, is there any, questions you've had from agents previously that you think our listeners might want to have you address here on this episode? That's just a common question you tend to get.
Yeah. A lot of people that would offer software at this level, they would require you to contract under them, and they try to get you in, their downline. This is subscription only. It's agnostic, which means you could contract with anybody, sell any company you want. I'm just providing you all the tools. If you need contracting, I'll give you a referral, but that's about it. Let's see. The other question is always the setup. How do I get set up? How do I get the workflows? How do I get going? And, please know that I'm giving you everything you need, from the text messages, images, everything, even landing pages that are customized to get you up and running.
Excellent. So Brian, if somebody wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you, to get started, and to start that conversation?
Quoteplicity.com. It's a play between quote and simplicity. So quoteplicity.com. I offer a free live demo So you could actually go ahead and run a full quote. You can put your information in and you can test out the full automations. It's not firewalled. You don't have to schedule a call to see anything. And besides that, we offer a 14-day free trial. So you're welcome. And I encourage anybody to check out the software and try it for free and see if you like it. And also schedule an appointment with me, and I'd be happy to help you set anything up and answer any other further questions for you.
Fantastic. Well, Brian, it's been good walking through this with you, and appreciate you joining us today on the Digital Insurance Agent podcast.
Thank you, Carl.
You bet. And to our listeners, so glad you've tuned in, and we look forward to having you on our next episode.